G'day, Dan here. Got a couple of videos I recorded and I realised I haven't posted them yet, but that's alright. Gonna get a bit of music going, I think, this afternoon, and computer's playing up a little bit on me, but that's alright. We'll keep pushing forward. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about the Story Festival and our stories and what it actually is in terms of the platform and how it fits into really everything, because there's a few pathways for it. An individual, a project sort of has a couple of things within it, because it could be a startup, it could be an existing business, but they all, and the individual, have their why, their reason to exist, their purpose. And the individuals, as a collective and connection, get together and work together on a project because of their desire to, because of an alignment in purpose and the solutions that are there to be solved. And then the partner pathways was the third one, where, as individuals come through, they're still finding their way, or, reflecting on their backstory. And you'll see in a lot of the sort of content and other videos, I've touched on this, where, there's that future, that you plan for and think with the end in mind, and, do it in the lens of, some unrestricted methods, knowing, a pathway to get there, pragmatic pathway to get there. And then most importantly, I think the Story Festival, in the beginning there was the word, and the word, ends up, if you go deeper, connecting to sound and frequency, which is pretty much the whole universe. And our words do have a power, in definitely affecting our own realities. The language we use, it's the reason they call it spelling. And ultimately, when we've got all this content and distractions, and sometimes the difficulties to discern through some of these truths, false information and, generated content now, and then that starts to become conversations. I mean, with visible internet, back in the day I was working on that, helping to curb the influence the internet's having over children, and part of those solutions was inappropriate content, pornography included. And look, even if your kid's hasn't gone that way and clicked on that button by accident, or been encouraged by their peer, and that's what mainly the point I was going to make, is the encouragement by maybe a peer, or just planting of a seed by a kid that unfortunately has clicked on some of that content and started to be affected in his mentality and views on the world. And so those views end up, and those thoughts becoming then beliefs and realities that people will start to put together, is something to be addressed, along with the conversations just to be having on certain grassroots problems and societal problems, without feeding that energy of it being a problem. But let's be realistic, there should have been some things fixed by the amount of resources that have been available from the powers that have been. So, and then through a transition of new world and different systems popping up, how to do it in harmony, work with them and whatnot. And that's the story. Anyway, I'm been populating my story as a founding contributor and finalising the parts and everything I've said I'm going to do. The things that I'm aligned with in terms of the housing, for keeping the family in it strong, having fun along this journey, which I'm starting to lean into more now. Attributing and rewarding those that have supported this journey. Some have fallen off in terms of potential contributors and whatnot, but again, there's been a lot of talk up until this, and things that people maybe not have fully comprehended and understood. So to bring that back into reality, to demonstrate and show actual results, starting with the digital agency, where anyone that can be a partner can come with their story. If they're a business, a project, then they have the benefit of those relationships and a purpose that in time is coming together, and we don't have to all have the answers. We have to come with the right, intent, with the pureness in our stories for the creation moving forward as an individual, and and then as a collective. So yeah, these working groups will naturally form those advisory boards and working teams to support a series of events that we're launching to support this. And music, you'll see very much part of it. Definitely when it comes to helping people, whatever your use case is on a pathway, is to have the emotional storytelling components, why Jesus spoke in parables and gets people's emotion and their intellect thinking in another way, or the intellect comes in, I suppose, when you teach the second phase with the value and the tactical side of things, when it comes to, the framework and teachings and getting a desired result. But yeah, sort of coming back to this present moment of how these stories align, and how the story festival, whether it's a business and a project or the individual storytelling in the music and the creative arts and imagery, definitely connects in a major way. So it's just literally on the way here. It's probably done now. Working on some of the tokenomics and reward for sort of features for early adopters, and that includes the content creators to, I've been playing my guitar and then putting those samples in, for example, to an AI Sunu to produce tracks, the rest of the tracks, to then share with my friends to be able to make those for real. And so you'll see a bit of that production sort of come together and then start to become systemized for the agency to help artists to get their own story sold. Instead of sending links to Spotify or whatnot, they can have their own platform, monetize through the community, share their provenance, the stages, and be able to pursue other projects and stuff that their art's really probably align with anyway, and not just be that story in art. It's will represent their story, which it always does anyway, but just making it easier to connect to their mission and monetization, financial security, and then ultimately our story moving forward is moving past that commercial, money sort of thing, embracing that it's there as a vehicle and an energy and an exchange, but how it can be used for good in terms of the legacy building and legacy leaving and the things that you can be remembered for and they can last when we leave this planet physically. Anyway, I'm going to keep at it. I hope you're all doing well. Thought I'd just quickly check in on that, and we'll talk soon. See you later.